Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with all the resources you need to become a successful author. You can learn more about Authors Unite and join the free community at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today I have Chad Carrodus with us. He's the CMO and co-founder of Go With Me. So welcome to the show, Chad.
Thanks so much, Tyler. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. Thanks for joining us, man. And we'll dive in. The first question I have for you is, what's the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Sure. So when I was 16, 17 years old, I had the absolute coolest job in the world, and that was working in private aviation. So I would sell, jet charters to these very influential individuals, around Atlanta. So, I'd go and have to network and go to these events. And one thing that I really started to notice was the people that really just wouldn't give you the time of day and would just, really give you a hard time and just overall weren't nice people. Typically were the ones that, couldn't afford to actually do it, and they'd be the ones wearing the, the big Rolex, things like that. But the people that were actually flying private that had, this abundant amount of money, they were just always so down to earth and genuine and, kind. So I think that the overlying message in that is just be nice. And that's such a cliche, I think, but it's the cliche for a reason. And that, good people do go far. And if you're enjoyable and other people enjoy being around you, then, it'll lead you to tremendous opportunity.
Yes. And what's the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
So I'm 20 years old right now, and I'm a tech entrepreneur. Another overused word, entrepreneur, but I guess that's the only way to describe it. But something that I think, being young, you really want to deliver more than what's expected. So learn, the expectation of your colleagues, of, your mentor's boss, anyone, as well as your customers, and really just over deliver as much as you can.
And it might tie in, but what's your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
Sure. I think fortune favors the bold. And that's just something that, if you stand out and if you're bold and stand in your convictions, then, fortune and, luck will definitely find you.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
You're smart, but you don't know it all.
And in your opinion, what's the key to happiness?
Balance. Make sure that you have relationships and, your mental, physical, and financial health. Those are the three primary elements of it, because, if you only have one of them, then I don't believe you to be successful.
And what's the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
So How to Make Friends and Influence People. And I think the best thing that I learned from that is you really want to get others to come to a conclusion and think that that conclusion is their own. So really just be agreeable and learn how to find common ground with people and really just, charm people essentially. And
what's your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is to create your own reality, because you are not a product of your circumstance. I think you're a product of your mindset. And I liked it so much, I even got a little tattoo of it on a symbol of it on my wrist. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. The last question I have for you before we let you go is, where's the best place for people to find you online?
Well, fortunately, there's not a lot of Chad Carroduses. So if you just Google Chad, C-H-A-D, Carrodus, C-A-R-R-O-D-U-S, my website, Instagram, and all my other social media will come up.
Perfect, brother. Thanks again for hopping on, and we will talk with you soon.
All right. Thanks so much, Tyler.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.